Nakamit ng Pilipinas ang Destination of the Year Award sa Routes Asia 2025 na ginanap sa Perth, Australia. Patunay ito na patuloy na lumalakas ang turismo sa ating bansa sa ilalim ng Love the Philippines campaign ng DOT. Nominado rin ang Mactan Cebu International Airport at Clark International Airport sa airport categories ng Route Asia para sa taong ito. Isa pang good news. Kanina ay pinirmahan ng Department of Budget and Management at ng Department of Education ang joint circular na naglalayong magbigay ng guidelines sa local government units para sa pagpapatayo ng child development centers sa kani-kanilang nasasakupan. Ito ay para matugunan ang kakulangan sa child development centers, lalo na sa mga lugar na low-income LGUs. Ang proyekto ay popondohan sa ilalim ng Local Government Support Fund Financial Assistance to LGUs o LGS-FFA. Malaki ang maitutulong ng proyektong ito sa pagpapatupad ng early childhood care at development programs. Pagkatapos mapirmahan ang joint circular, ay epektibo na ito. Kaya pwede nang humingi ng pondo ang mga eligible na LGU para masimulan na ang pagpapatupad at pagpapatayo ng CDCs sa kanilang lugar. At para mabigyan ng iba pang detalye tungkol dito, at para sa programa ng DepEd patungkol sa Massive Feeding Program para sa mga estudyante, makakasama natin ngayon si Education Secretary Sani Angara.
Hi, good morning sa lahat. Galing lang kami sa Palasyo and the President was witness na dito sa agreement to joint circular of DepEd and DBM na to create 300 new child development centers dahil ito ay nakabase dun sa finding na UNICEF, may finding ang UNICEF na 78% of children below 5 ay wala sa daycare centers. So, sabi nga ni Presidente, kahit may batas tayo requiring each municipality to build a daycare center, because of dun sa kulang sa pananalapi, hindi na pondohan ng ibang low-income municipalities. So itong programa ni Presidente today, yung utos niya, which came just a few weeks ago by the way, kasi nag-present yung EDCOM, present nga yung findings about yung children na walang access sa daycare centers, at saka yung importance of early childcare and education. So, inutos niya kagad. Tapos ngayon, nandito na tayo. Nagkumilos din ng DBM. Meron tayong 1 billion for 300 plus daycare centers. And most of them will be in Visayas and Mindanao. I think close to 239 yata yung nasa Visayas and Mindanao. Special target to BARM, which is experiencing the highest highest levels of hunger in the country.
At nakakasama din po natin ang DSWD Assistant Secretary si Aileen Dumlao. Asek?
Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. Ang Department of Social Welfare and Development bilang lead in the Interagency Task Force on Zero Hunger is fully committed in addressing the issue on hunger and malnutrition. Alinsunod po sa vision ng ating pong Pangulo, Marcos Jr., na dapat wala pong Pilipino na magiging gutom. Kung kaya nga po, tinitiyak ng DSWD na nag-harmonize, nag-align yung iba't ibang mga programa at serbisyo ng national government agencies, and that would continue to partner with the private sector so that we could collectively come up with sustainable solutions that would ultimately address the problem on hunger and malnutrition.
We're now opening the floors for questions for Secretary Angara and ASEC Dumlao. Jinky Batigatos, IBC 13.
Good morning, Secretaries. Good morning po. Hi, sir. Sir, following the mandate of the President po about doon sa daycare centers, no, for particularly in Mindanao and in Visayas, right? So, ano yung target po niyo to accomplish all of this 300?
Siguro, depende sa funding yan. Hopefully, we will have bigger funding in the coming year, 2026, no? So, of course, dadaan pa tayo ng budgetary process. But I think ang target is to close the gap as much as possible. Pero I think dito pa lang, very crucial itong 300 dahil ito yung ibang munisipyo o bayan na wala talagang child development center. Kasi they are all 4th and 5th class municipalities. So kahit wala silang kakayahan. So pumasok na ang national government. At ang connection naman sa nutrition nito, kasi yung feeding program ng DSWD is based in the daycare centers. So pag wala yung daycare, wala yung bata sa daycare center, hindi napapakain yung bata. So yun yung relation. So that's why we want to get more people, more kids, more children dun sa daycare centers para mas maraming mapakain or mas maraming beneficiaryo yung feeding program ng ating gobyerno.
Sir, I presume...
And I want to add also, sorry, Jinky. I want to add that dito sa ilalim ng administrasyon ni President Bongbong, pagpasok niya, 3 billion lang ang budget for school feeding. It's increased to 11.7 billion. So that's like, I think that's a 350% increase in the budget.
Sir, open naman to sa lahat, no? For everybody.
It is for, ang nasa batas kasi, wasted and severely wasted. Yung talagang underweight, yung mga ganon. Marami tayong ganon eh. So.
Sir, because of the availability of fund now, 1 billion is being given to you by the DBM. So most likely, sir, you will start this year.
Actually, just to clarify, the money is going to be given to the local governments. Sila yung sila yung magko-construct. Parang yung tinatawag na by administration. So,
thank you, Secretary.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ivan Mayrina, GMA7.
Kay Asek Dumlao, ma'am, how do you reconcile the fact that in a recent survey, tumaas pa po yung bilang ng mga nagugutom, 27% ang nagsabi na nakaranas sila ng gutom sa nakalipas sa 3 buwan. How do you reconcile that with our efforts sa sa Zero Hunger Project ng DSWD?
Well, Ivan, of course, we recognize na marami pong mga factors na nakakaapekto sa issue ng hunger and malnutrition. Kaya nga po ang DSWD nakatutok tayo. We are intensifying our efforts. And as I mentioned earlier, we're working with other government agencies para mag-harmonize yung iba't ibang mga programa at serbisyo natin and talagang ma-achieve yung objective of addressing hunger. On the part of the DSWD, nire-recognize naman natin yung mga challenges. Halimbawa, in Visayas, protracted yung issue on Canlaon eruption. And this could be one of the reasons kung bakit nga po tumaas din yung incidence of hunger in that region. But then again, sabi ko nga po, DSWD is fully committed to ensuring na may provide natin yung kaukulang kinakailangan lalo sa pagkain ng ating pong mga kababayang naapektuhan. And that is also one of the reasons why we are scaling up the implementation of not only Walang Gutom program, but also yung mga ibang programa like Walang Gutom Kitchen.
Secretary Angara, good morning po. Secretary, since napag-uusapan natin yung nutrition program, meron ba tayong study tungkol doon sa impact sa mga bata ng malnutrition at kakulangan sa pagkain?
Marami pong studies, both local and foreign, na kapag yung bata hindi nakakakain, hindi nabubuo yung kanyang utak. And ang sabi nga ng mga dalubhasa dito, 90% ng utak ay nabubuo before the age of 5. That's why nag-utos si Presidente na mag-focus tayo sa early child care and development. Kasi yung under DepEd, yung kinder is 5 years old bago pumasok eh. Pero kumbaga, yun, universal yun, required na pumasok yung mga bata. Pero yung ECCD, kumbaga nakita niya na may mga LGUs na mahusay ang implementasyon, merong mga sa ibang municipalities, meron 3, 5 daycare center, pero meron ding bayan na walang daycare center. So sabi niya, dapat siguro pumasok ng national government dito. Kahit hindi niya pangunahin tungkulin ito, magbayanihan effort na tayo along with the local governments. Kasi kundi ang tagal na napasa ng batas yung Republic Act na requiring the municipalities to construct daycare centers. I think ilang dekada na yon, pero despite that, hindi pa rin nagagawa yung daycare centers. Kaya kumilos na mabilis si Pangulong Marcos.
Secretary, follow up lang doon sa side ng nutrition. As far as school performance sa mga bata, anong progress yung nakita natin nung nag-intensify tayo ng feeding program?
Yes.
Specifically doon sa public schools?
We have this exam called the Carla exam. It measures the literacy ng bata, yung ability to read. Nag-improve siya, especially at the early grades. So parang pinapakita na the earlier we intervene, mas maganda kaysa sa pagka umabot na ng, kasi yung feeding program ng DepEd is kinder to grade 6. So mas effective siya between kinder and grade 2. Yun ang pinakamalaking gains. Yun ang pinapakita ng pag-aaral. So yun ang lesson namin. Maaring pag ganun talaga ang trend, we may ask Congress to amend the law na more resources will go to the younger years.
If I remember it right, Secretary, during the time of then President Ferdinand Edralin Marcos, may Nutriban.
Yes.
Ngayon ba ibinalik natin yung Nutriban?
Yes, we have similar kasi yung DOST is part of the school feeding law. Sila yung kung anong pinapakain namin, kailangan i-approve ni DOST na nutrient rich siya. So yun yung idea behind the Nutriban. So parang yung modern day Nutriban, yung mga snacks ng mga bata, parang nakamodelo dun sa Nutriban ni President Marcos Sr.
Good morning, Secretary. Sir, guidelines po yung pinirmahan ninyo kanina. Pwede pong malaman paano yung masusustain yung operations nito. Halimbawa, naitayo na yung mga daycare center.
Yes, the operations will be with the LGUs. Kasi yun talagang nangyayari. Yun talagang nasa batas na LGUs will construct and will maintain the daycare centers. Pero sa ngayon, dahil sa kakulungan ng pondo, hindi nakakapagtayo yung ibang LGU. So yun na lang, kumbaga kaya bayanihan approach. Kasi here in the 300 plus daycare centers, si national government ang popondo, pero dapat saluhin ng mga LGUs sa baba. Mag-provide sila ng daycare worker at maaaring other, maybe security or other workers to help dito.
Paano ho matitiyak ng pamahalaan na nabanggit po kasi na yung magpapatupad yung LGU, yung mga local officials, paano ho matitiyak natin na hindi ito mababahiran ng politika yung implementation ng programa?
Ay hindi ho, kasi hindi naman nakabase sa kung kakampi o kalaban. Dito talagang nakabase siya sa objective criteria. Kung 4th or 5th class municipality ka. So walang politika dito. Klaro.
Sa side naman po ng mga teachers, paano po ititrain yung mga daycare workers or mga teachers na i-deploy doon sa mga CDC centers? May teacher-to-child ratio po ba?
Magandang tanong yan. Actually, pagka younger yung mga bata, mas maliit dapat yung klase. So, kung sa regular class is 1:30, 1:35, pagdating sa kinder at daycare, pakonti yan, 15 or 20 na lang sana, ideally. Tapos dun sa training nila, nawala yun Nawala yung training sa mga higher education institutions, mga colleges. Parang nawala yung specialization for early childcare. So ngayon, I think ang recommendation ng EDCOM or Educational Commission is ibalik yung specialization in childcare para pag-graduate ng teacher, she has a specialization in early childcare. Yun talaga, alam niya anong gagawin. At saka meron ding module ang TESDA actually. So hindi mo kailangan maging college graduate. Meron silang certification program na you can be trained in childcare, early childcare.
Sabi nga natin kanina, LGUs po ang mag-i-implement nito. So paano, may mechanism po ba tayo para ma-monitor kung talagang nai-implement ng LGUs itong program to make sure na yung fund naman na ibibigay sa kanila ay hindi masasayang?
Yes, opo. Yung DILG po ang magiging agency kasi sila yung nag-interface or nagta-touch base with our local government executives. At meron silang yung tinatawag na Seal of Good Local Governance. Isa sa mga criteria doon ay yung education programs ng isang LGU. So, doon, kumbaga, incentivized yung LGU dahil pagkausap mo yung mga mayors, gusto nilang manalo nung SGLG. Yun ang nangyari dyan, para naging competition yun. So, yun ang I think, incentive. And then, I think there is a new bill na passed by the Senate and the House, nung inamend yung Early Years Act. At dito, ang mag-chair nga nung Early Child Care and Development Council is the DILG. Will be jointly chaired. Main chair is DILG, tapos co-chair si DepEd. So, kasi yun ang parang nawala in the previous law na parang walang role si DILG, and yet nasa LGUs yung responsibilidad para dito sa Early Child Care and Development.
morning, Secretary. Sir, may I know lang po if we have enough childcare provider or specialist po ba yung tawag? Thank you.
Hindi. That's why we need to train more. Kulang tayo. We have, at saka ang nangyari is yung by practice, parang appointee lang ng mayor yung mga daycare workers and they only receive parang honorarium lang. So, yun gusto natin i-level up yung kanilang occupation at bigyan sila ng mga training. So, over time, magkaroon din sila ng credentials. Di naman kailangan college graduate tulad ng nabanggit kanina. Kahit may TESDA courses na gustong magiging available din for them kung gusto nila mag-upgrade ng credentials nila.
Sir, since 300 po yung itatayo, gaano po karami yung kailangan na childcare provider at ma-fill in po ba yun by 2026?
Well, ideally, each one will have one, no? So, yun. Siguro may mangyayari dyan is may mga regions or bayan na walang mahirapan maghanap ng graduates. Yun, kailangan with the help siguro of DSWD, magte-train tayo ng DOH also, mag-train tayo ng mga pwede mag-man ng daycare centers. So.
Maraming salamat po, Deputy Secretary Sani Angara and DSWD ASEC, Irene Dumlao. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
At sa iba pa pong good news, makakasama naman po natin si Assistant Director General Jonathan Malaya, National Security Council.
Maraming salamat, UC Claire. So ano sasabihin ko ngayon? Okay, siguro po yung mga nasa balita lang, no? The announcement yesterday by the U.S. Defense Cooperation Agency of the proposed sale of the F-16 fighter jets in the Philippines, we understand, is part of the commitment of the Trump administration, what has been reaffirmed by the visit of U.S. Defense Secretary Hegseth as an ironclad commitment to the defense of the Philippines, an ironclad commitment to the defense treaty between the Philippines and the United States. If you will remember, Secretary Hegseth said in a joint statement with Secretary Teodoro that the United States will deploy additional advanced military capabilities to the Philippines for joint training, enhanced interoperability, and defense industrial cooperation. So we see this announcement by the U.S. Defense Cooperation Agency as the initial implementation of that joint statement between the two defense secretaries. We should note that the F-16 is the most advanced fourth-generation fighter in the world. And if this sale pushes through, it will be a significant upgrade to our current arsenal. We have at present 12 F-A-15 fighter jets from South Korea. However, I was told that the Department of National Defense has not yet received an official communication from the U.S. government. So as to the details of this sale, as to how soon this will happen, when will the procurement process, we will have to defer to the Department of National Defense for details. However, I'd also wish to address the statement coming from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the People's Republic of China, wherein they said that any defense cooperation with other nations by the Philippines should not target or harm the interest of a third party, nor should it threaten regional peace and security. And we would like to assure the People's Republic of China that the planned procurement of F-16 fighter jets to the Philippine arsenal does not in any way harm the interest of any third party. It is not intended for any nation. It is merely part of the AFP modernization program. Now, I'd also like to give an update, and I'd like to give you the latest data on this, regarding the research and survey vessel Songhang. It is currently outside the archipelagic waters of the Philippines, if I understand it correctly. At 7:30 this morning, it was approximately 48.65 nautical miles northeast of Tambisan Island in Sabah, Malaysia. And the Coast Guard is continuing maritime patrol of this vessel to ensure that it keeps to its track and it does not conduct maritime survey inside our waters. Because although ships have right of innocent passage, no foreign vessel can conduct maritime survey in our waters. So the Philippine Coast Guard is being vigilant. They are continuously doing maritime patrol to ensure that this does not happen. In fact, the PRP Malapascua, MRRB 4403, is currently shadowing the research vessel that I mentioned. Maraming salamat po.
Hi sir, morning.
Good morning.
Ayan. Sir, yung sa reaction din po ng Chinese Foreign Ministry, this time naman on the statement of AFP Chief Romeo Bronner regarding Taiwan invasion, China said that we urge certain Philippine individuals not to play with fire on the Taiwan question. Those who play with fire will get burned. So China opposes any baseless, distorted, and inflammatory remarks regarding Taiwan. So how do we view this statement, and why maybe the timing of the Taiwan invasion statement? How do we reconcile this with the remarks made by the Chinese Foreign Ministry?
Yes. I understand that the Executive Secretary will be conducting a separate press briefing today on this issue. No? But so I'd like to defer to him on how to respond clearly. But just to give an additional input, that the Philippine government will always be ready to protect and assist our OFWs wherever we may be. And the context of the Chief of Staff's statement was merely to relay to the public that the Northern Luzon Command, as an integral part of the armed forces, is ready to assist our OFWs. We have had similar evacuations in the Middle East before, and everybody knows that. Whenever there is a emergency of some kind, we immediately send our planes, we immediately send ships to the area to evacuate our citizens. So it is in that context that the Chief of Staff made that statement. But for other things, as to the reaction to the Chinese Foreign Ministry statement, I'd like to defer to Executive Secretary for his statement later on.
I would just like to ask, I'll go back to the defense posture. Magkano aabutin yung ano? How much are we looking at if we are going to start purchasing all this defense equipment? How much will it cost the government?
Ganito kasi no, we are still in the negotiation phase because, as I mentioned, this was an announcement coming from the U.S. Defense Cooperation Agency, and as of now, there has been no official communication yet by the U.S. government to the Department of National Defense, who will undertake the procurement. So I think it's premature at present to discuss the details of how much, when, and I'd like to defer to the Department of National Defense for further details. I think they will make an announcement at the proper time.
Thank you, Assistant Director General Jonathan Malaya. At ngayon po ay handa na po tayong tumugon sa inyong mga katanungan.
First question po, Leth Narciso, DZRH.
Good morning, Yusek. Ma'am, may we know po ano ng mga hakbang ang ginagawa ng pamahalaan kaugnay ng immigration crackdown ng Trump administration? Sabi po kasi sa ulat, mayroon ng 20 undocumented Filipino migrants ang nakakulong sa US ngayon.
Po, muli ang mga detalye pong ito ay ipapaubaya po natin pansamantala sa DFA. At kapag po meron na po tayong detalye na katugunan po dito, ibibigay po namin agad sa inyo.
Tristan Nodalo, Newswatch Plus.
Good morning po, Yusek. Ma'am, nag-start na po yung hearing ni Senator Amy Marcos regarding sa arrest ni former President Duterte, and dumalo po si Senator Bato de la Rosa doon, and sa sinabi niya po ay parang nagrereklamo po siya sa hindi pagdalo ng ilang executive official, at ito raw po ay tahasang pagbabaliwala sa doktrina ng checks and balances ng ating gobyerno. He adds na we are on the verge of constitutional crisis kung tuluyan daw pong i-snob yung investigation. Our reaction po.
Sino po nagsabi po? Si Senator
Bato de la Rosa.
Hindi po ba niya natatandaan na nagkaroon na ng first hearing? Siya po yata yung wala. That was an opportunity para sa kanya para magtanong. So wag niyo pong sisihin kung ngayon po ay hindi umaten ang mga cabinet officials natin sa pangalawang hearing po. 6 na oras po ang naging hearing nung una. Sana po dumating siya, nagpakita siya, para pa nakapagtanong siya na maayos.
But do you believe or hindi po ba tayo naniniwala sa sinabi niyang pwedeng magkaroon ng constitutional crisis daw po, ma'am, kung patuloy daw pong gagawin ito ng Malacanang?
Dapat malaman din po ni Senator Bato na ang patungkol po sa executive privilege ay matagal na po ring inayunan ng Supreme Court. Marami na pong kaso na desisyon na ng Supreme Court. Nandiyan po ang Senate versus Ermita, Neri versus Senate Committee, kung saan po ang executive privilege ay patunay lamang po according to the Supreme Court decisions na ito po ay maaaring i-invoke ng ating Pangulo at ng kanyang mga high-ranking officials. Especially kung ito ay mga patungkol sa deliberative process privilege, presidential communications privilege, or state secrets privilege. So sana po mabasa niya po ang mga kasong ito para po siya maliwanagan.
Follow-up question from Maricel Halili.
Hi ma'am, magandang umaga po. Just one quick follow-up. Sinabi po kasi rin ni Senator Bato na gusto niyang ipasabina itong mga government officials na hindi dumalo. Do you think this is a reasonable move coming from Senator Bato and posible ba yun?
Nasa kanya po yan. Kung magpapasupina siya, siguraduhin lamang din po niya na siya po ay magpapakita.
Yusek, sinabi kasi kanina na on negotiation phase pa yung pagbili natin ng F-16 sa US. Sakali, Yusek, saan kukunin ng gobyerno ang pondo pambili po ng mga nasabing aircraft?
Naku po. Sa ngayon po, ako po personal ay hindi ko po batid ang kasagutan patungkol dyan. Sana po natanong kanina kay Sir Jonathan Malaya. Anyway, sabi pa po natin, wala pa pong detalye, katulad pong sinabi ni Sir Jonathan Malaya. At alamin po natin kasi nasa negotiation pa lang po. At pagka po nagkaroon na po ng mga detalye patungkol po sa budget, muli ibibigay po agad namin sa inyo.
Magtatanong lang po ako, kami regarding po dun sa alas reaction ng 17% reciprocal tariff na inimpose ng US government sa Philippines. May assessment na po ba yung Philippine government kung ano yung mga industries na maapektuhan ng sabing 17% tariff?
Sa ngayon po, wala pa po tayong detalye patungkol po kung ano mga industries na maaaring maapektuhan. Pero siguro po itong 17% na ipapato na tariff ay isa na rin pong magandang balita. Dahil mas marami po na bansa na mas napatawan ng mas mataas na tariff. At lumalabas nga po na parang tayo lamang po ay ang second lowest, no? Susunod po tayo sa Singapore. At ayon din po sa DTI, yung impact po nito ay medyo hindi ganon kalaki. Very minimal po. At tayo rin po ay naniniwala sa isang relasyong maganda, ang US-Philippine Alliance. Kaya po, ang pagpapataw po ng 17% ay maaari na pag-aralan din po ng gobyerno po, ng administrasyon ng US. Kaya ito po ay tatanggapin natin. Pero kung ano man po ang maaaring maging impact, of course, tayo ay dapat tumugon ng nararapat. Pero as of the moment, sabi nga po ng DTI, very minimal po ang magiging impact sa atin ito.
Ma'am, but what steps will the government take to ease the impact of the additional tariff kung saan?
Titignan po natin. Kasi ang base naman po sa mga reports natin, hindi naman po din kasi ganun kalaki yung ating ini-import, no? Or ini-export, I mean. Hindi tayo malaki ang ini-export sa US. At alamin po natin, base na rin po sa DTI at sa DOF, kung ano maaaring maging dating or impact ng 17% sa mga project or sa mga produkto ng Pilipinas.
Last na lang, ma'am. Will the government appeal the additional tariff sa US government po? May plano po bang mag-apela yung Pilipinas na parang i-reduce or tanggalin yung 17% tariff?
Sa ngayon po, wala pa po tayong nadidinig kung may plano po. Pero kapag ka po nagkaroon ng pag-uusap patungkol po dito, at muli, ibibigay po namin ng update patungkol dyan.
But Yusek, how is the Philippines taking that decision from the Trump admin given that the US is a traditional ally of the Philippines and supposedly we have very close ties? So how is Malacanang taking this additional tariff?
Decision po kasi ng gobyerno ng US yan. Kung meron po silang dapat na pangalagaan patungkol sa kanilang mga economic growth nila or sa kanilang mga ekonomiya, hindi po ito mapipigilan. Yan po ang kanilang magiging polisiya. At sabi nga po natin, ang pagpataw po ng 17% na second lowest, sa ating palagay ay hindi na po ganon kasama. Mabuti pa rin po ito sa ating palagay.
Although undeniable, it could also lead to higher costs, di po ba, yung tariff. So, may epekto din ho yun kahit paano sa ating economy.
Yes.
So, how are we taking this, are we even taking this positively given that it could lead to higher costs?
Pwede po kasi maging positibo ito, pwedeng maging negatibo ito, lalo kapag ka po tayo nag-e-export. Pero kapag ka po nanatili ang ganitong klaseng polisiya, maaari pa rin din po tayo makakuha ng mga investors mula doon sa mga bansa na may pinapatawan ng malalaking tariff. So maaari silang pumunta sa Pilipinas, dito sila magsagawa, mag-manufacture, dahil 17% lamang ang pinapataw sa atin. So, pwedeng negative, positive ito.
So, you're saying, since mas mataas sa iba, they might reconsider and,
investing here.
Ito na lang. Okay. Meron ba tayong ibibigay na offer sakali sa US or sa Trump admin in case para somehow ma-mitigate or somehow ma-ease yung tariff na yan? Or will we renegotiate para magkaroon ng better terms given that we are close allies?
Siguro po, ang tamang ahensya po ang sasagot po niyan at sa kasalukuyan po ay wala po tayong update tungkol sa iyong tanong.
Good morning po, ma'am. Ma'am, may we just get your reaction on the recent statement made by Vice President Sara Duterte that although it is ironic, but she has to thank President Bongbong Marcos na nagkaroon sila ng forgiveness ng apa niya, former President Rodrigo Duterte.
Okay. Mas maganda po siguro kung magpasalamat muna si VP Sara sa kanyang ama mismo, kay dating Pangulong Duterte. Dahil kung siya man po ay nagkaroon ng pagkakataon at nagkaroon ng oras kasama ang kanyang ama, ay dahil ito sa kasong EJK. Kung hindi po naganap at hindi nagawa ang sinasabing mga aksyon patungkol sa war on drugs at walang nag-complain, hindi naman din po sila makakaroon ng pagkakataon na makapunta sa dahig. So mas magandang pasalamatan niyo muna po dahil sa ginawa ng kanyang ama, sa mga nirereklamos po sa kanya, yun po yung naging cause kung ba't sila nasa dahig. Pero pinaabot po natin to sa Pangulo. At ang sabi po niya, glad I could help.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. At dito po nagtatapos ang ating briefing. Maraming salamat, Malacanang Press Corps, at magandang tanghali para sa Bagong Pilipinas.